And good morning, everybody. My name is Butch Whitehead. I'm here with Veterans of the North, and I have the distinct pleasure of sitting down today with the Department Commander of the DAV Minnesota, but also the National Commander of the DAV Minnesota, DAV National. And what an honor that here in Minnesota, we're actually getting ready to celebrate our centennial anniversary. Our effective date is July 5th, but, you know, being at this convention, we have the privilege of actually having everybody coming together. So I'm going to take advantage of that today, and we're going to learn a little bit more about the DAV. So Commander Martin, here to my right, you became the department commander here last year, and you're coming to the end of your term as commander. How's your year been as commander?
It's been great. It's been busy. I put on a lot of miles this year covering the state of Minnesota, but it's been very rewarding. I've met a lot of great volunteers and supporters of the DAV.
Commander, what would you say one of the top things that you've been, when you're visiting with veterans across the state of Minnesota, what were some of the top issues that you're hearing about?
Well, most of it was disability claims. A lot of them were having problems, and we have a tremendous group of service officers in the state of Minnesota. And I said, you know, use them because a lot of them were using other service officers, other organizations, the county service officers. Not saying that they didn't do a good job, but I think we have kind of the elite when it comes to service officers.
Absolutely. You know, and then also, as I said earlier, you know, Minnesota's, you know, what an honor to have our national commander come and join us, you know, Dan Contreras. You know, you're actually about halfway through, just over halfway of your year as commander. How's your term been going so far this year, Commander?
Well, first of all, thank you, Butch and Ofer, for giving me this opportunity to sit with you and really talk about the great things that are going on in Minnesota, but also across the nation. And what an honor it's been to serve our nearly 1 million members as the primary spokesperson. So I've really enjoyed the fact that, and you can reflect on this, Butch, as well, is that as national commanders, our primary role is to be the primary spokesperson, and ultimately that's being the cheerleader for the greatest organization that I've ever been a part of, and I know that we do a lot of great things. So the opportunity to express what we do with our programs and visiting a lot of the morale welfare things we do, like the golf clinic or the winter sports clinic. And one of the pinnacles of our term is certainly testifying before Congress. And a lot of work goes into that, not only for the fact that we had our Vision for Veterans campaign, where we really focus on promoting what our veterans need with future elected officials, and also going through just, I think, a very tenuous time with what's going on in Washington. And so those have been a lot of the focus of my work, but also really the trips that I go to and see across the nation. DAV is doing great things within our departments and the chapters, and really I think that that's where our unsung heroes are, and you know that each term national commander has a new advent because DAV constantly is evolving.
Yep.
How can we further help veterans? And I would say for us this year would certainly be the caregiver support program. And so that's where we're looking at not only recognizing the veterans, but those who have sacrificed caring for veterans, but not only those who are sacrificing caring for veterans, but veterans who are caregivers themselves. So that's where the advent of our program, it evolves even more on a global level to help out caregivers, both loved ones who are taking care of veterans or veterans who are taking care of loved ones. So I would say for me, that's probably the highlight of this is just really being able to talk about the great things we do, and that's so easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. You know, and Commander, you brought up a great point. I want to kind of piggyback off that a little bit and use that key word that at the national level, as you and I both know, and that's the grassroots. Where does everything begin for the DAV? And that's the grassroots. And that's our members. That's our veterans that we're here to serve. And you talked about having the opportunity to testify before the joint session of the Veterans Affairs. And, you know, Commander Martin, you just got done and being part of the state of Minnesota's Vets Stay in the Hill, and just that piece of advocacy work that we do, not only at the state level but the national level. Commander, what did you think about Vets Stay in the Hill when you had 800 of your veterans of Minnesota showing up in that armory that day?
Well, it was a sight to behold, I guess you would say. We showed up in force. The governor and the representatives, senators and representatives that were there, were just amazed that we had that turnout. We had 3 floors of the rotunda packed with veterans, and we were there on a mission to secure our benefits that we've been denied, a lot of them, for years. Like I said, I fought for my disability for 55 years after Vietnam, so you can't stop giving up. The struggle goes on.
Well, and that's a great point, Commander, because in the day, as veterans age, when we leave the military, a lot of our illnesses aren't present at that time. But as our bodies change and as life changes and things start coming to fruition about our struggles, and you just brought up the point of, fighting for your disabilities from you left Vietnam for 55 years. What kind of helped you get through that? Obviously, a lot of veterans give up. They don't want to fight that long. What kind of motivated you to stay and continue that fight?
Well, I actually did give up. I started in 1970 with my disability claim, and it got denied 6 times. And then finally, by 2008, I developed a brain, a mastic growth in my brain, which kind of triggered all of my how to say, my physical issues, not only mental but physical issues. And we had Shane Lieberman, which is now national. I started out with him at the state, and Shane never gave up the battle. About 8 years ago, I seen him out at the midwinter conference, and he says, "I finally figured out what's wrong." And I said, "With me or my disability?" And he said, "No, with your disability." He said, I didn't realize your missions were classified. So he took me right up to Amy Klobuchar, U.S. Senator's office. And it took her about 3 months to get my missions declassified so they could get the information off of them. And she personally brought them out to me that day, or that year at Memorial Day services.
Oh, wow.
And so that was really great. And me and Mrs. Klobuchar have been real close ever since. She's working on trying to get my Purple Hearts now, because I never received them because I worked with the Vietnamese unit. So I didn't have a lot of contact with U.S. forces in Vietnam. So my records got shuffled everywhere.
Oh, wow. And Commander Martin, you just brought up a great point, and I know the history of you, National Commander, and how you got started. That it just kind of goes hand in hand with how you got involved with the DAV as well.
Yes, and again, I call DAV the silent giants, because even when I got out of the military, had really no understanding of benefits, and I had to leave the military early because of disabilities, but I had a profession that I could market and work, and so I was contacted by a DAV National Service Officer who I worked with in the military. And so not only did he introduce to me that I may have potential benefits that I've really not really tried to apply for, but on top of that, a career as a National Service Officer.
Yes.
And what's interesting is that today, and again, our lay service officers are having some training here, and that's really a way for veterans to really give back, because not only are they helping them with achieving health care, but potentially some disability compensation to help them through their occupational impairment or those issues. But for me, I've been with DAV 25 years, 8 years on the professional side, and working as a National Service Officer and going to the academy and really getting the institutional knowledge of our organization led me to think about a brother who was a Vietnam vet. He was in the Vietnam, Cambodian refugee as far as the evacuations, and he was on the aircraft carrier. They had thousands of evacuees on the aircraft. But while he was home on leave in 1975, he literally broke his neck.
Oh,
So I
wow.
thought about it. I was like, did my brother ever file a claim? And I called him up. I was at the academy at the time because I'm thinking, wow, all 4 boys in my family served in the military, but the one that I can think about was my brother David. Because I was home when that happened, and he was in a full body cast, like a 20-pound full body cast and halo traction with pins in his head for 7 months or so. And that happened while he was home on leave. Still in the military.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, lo and behold, we were able to get him his benefits. And interesting, and I use this as an anecdotal funny story, but learning the technical side of claims work can even expand into residual conditions, as you're well aware of. And so with pins in your head, you have burr holes. And the burr holes not only cause these cavities, so the cavities themselves, depending on how big they are, offer another type of compensation. Well, the pins in your head cause scarring. The scarring causes a condition called repugnant in nature.
Oh, wow.
Repugnant in nature is something that's an additional benefit. But my brother was ugly before he went into service, so that was a pre-existing condition.
Yep.
And I always tease him about that. But no, so that technical side of what DAV can do to help, and even when you have individuals, I remember working claims for individuals who stormed the beaches at Marshall Island, and they were, the bombs are coming down, and they know, radio man, he's moving from crater to crater, and in that instance, they know if they can hear the whistle, then they're okay. But if the bomb goes off, they don't hear the whistle, then it's coming at them.
Yep.
So they go into a crater, shield themselves. He wakes up covered in blood. It's not his. All but 7 teeth have been shattered.
Oh, wow.
He's got shrapnel in his back. He's 82 years old and has never filed a claim.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like, come on.
Commander, you bring up a point that, obviously the training that we're doing right now and our service officers, the work that they do, this is a constant story that every day our service officers are running into veterans like that is sharing a story that, yeah, back in World War II, I did this, or back in Vietnam, I did this, and now we're 60, 50, 40 years later, and they're just not coming forward. And, while we wish they came forward when they first got it, but in the day, it doesn't matter when they did. We are here still to make sure that they get the benefits that they've earned, regardless of how late they come to the game. And our service officers, that go through the training, because of the process being as technical as it is, to get everything to line up to match that shows that the military-related issue caused these issues, it takes time. And that's the hard part, as we just heard from Commander Martin, having to wait so long, constantly fight. That's what the DAV is here for. The DAV is here to make sure that we fight for these veterans, that when the decision makers that are out there, the federal VA system, Veterans Affairs, when they come back says, we don't have enough evidence to show that the military caused this, we don't give up. We don't give up for that veteran, and we go back and help that veteran navigate to that next piece to show the proof. So I know we're going to take a little quick break here and come back next segment here. Again, my name is Butch Whitehead with Veterans of the North, and I'm here with the Department Commander Martin Olther and also our National Commander Dan Contreras. We'll be right back.